Good morning. I am Salon, one half of the two Pondering Pagans, and welcome to today's SaTarotDay. So today, it is currently 6 a.m. on Saturday morning. Lots of stuff to do today, but I am in circle at the moment. I have done my meditations this morning, and I am going to pull some cards from our Runic Tarot deck, which is fast becoming a favorite of mine. And then an extra, probably clarification card from and I'll post this up, Star Codes Astro. Pretty neat deck, and we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, today's a super busy day. Got lots going on, doing some certification classes for nursing, and also doing a lot of moving around within our house. So Rook, the other half of Two Pondering Pagans, and I share an office space, both for work at times and for gaming and streaming and all that stuff. And we've had some audio issues and space issues, but now that our guest room is open back up, Rook will be moving into that guest room, setting up in there. I will have a lot more space in here, doing some changes and some movement. So I'm really excited about that. And probably going to keep like the same background and stuff, move a few things around, but we'll have so much more space. I need to get a new bookshelf that I've got ready, set up to start helping with us putting our books up, because we have so many. They're like literally surrounding us everywhere. And the 3 great bookshelves we already have are not enough. But anyway, enough about that. I want to go ahead and get started on this Runic pull. So I think you guys are probably familiar. I've used this deck before, and again, it's fast becoming a favorite of mine. It's the Runic Tarot by Jack Sephiroth, Alan Dempster, and Jamie Elford. Beautiful deck, obviously Norse related, lots of runic, parts to it. And I'm not really a Norse mythology person or a Norse pantheon, but I am fast becoming and feeling called to it, because, and it's new. And I'm German historically, like ancestrally German, also from Celtic Gaul. I don't know a lot of the details on what all that means, but I'm very interested in ancestry and stuff like that. So have done a lot of work on that. And so this recently is really calling to me. It's called before, but so strongly for me to work within mostly the Norse pantheon, but also some Celtic and other areas. So I am feeling lots of pull in many different directions, but that's the strongest one right now. And so I'm going to listen and get working on a couple of those things. I'm going to spend some more time working with Norse entities, deities, and things of that nature. So this would be a natural progression to use a deck that's related to that I feel very, very called to. So anyway, like I said, meditation done. I did some chakra balancing this morning and some grounding. I also did cast a quick circle, as I normally do. I don't know why I don't really talk about it, but that is an important piece of this to me, because I like to have that. It's not even about protection. It's just about an open invitation for things, entities, energies, and things to come in and support what we are doing. So let's get started. All right. So shuffling is already done, and I am ready to pull. Let's see what we get. All right, we have the Ace of Horns or Ace of Cups. We have Judgment. And Knight of Cups or Horns. In the book, it discusses them as horns and cups, kind of back and forth in the introduction, but they're interchangeable, obviously, in description on this deck. So let's go through these 3 cards individually, tie them together a little bit, and then we will pull our clarification card. So let's talk about aces, or well, in this case, the Ace of Cups. I think one of the most beautiful things to remember about aces is not just that they are the one, which a lot of people see as the beginning or the start of something, but they are the one, meaning they are everything that is about that element. They are the raw element. They are the form. They include the beginning and the end, everything in between. The ace is the alpha and the omega, I guess you could say. But it is everything of that energy. So, and yes, I can see my hair. Oh my God, I got bedhead. It's too early to take a shower. I can't take a shower because it'll wake up Rook, but this is my normal. So you'll just have to excuse all this little mess and stuff going on here. But anyway, let's back to the cards. So Ace of Cups is talking about potential for new emotional connections, right? New watery things. The Ace of Cups or Horns is all about that energy that is malleable. It can be both swift and it can be stale. It can cause great, rivers, and it can also have the energy of a pond. Those are two completely different things, but they are all contained in the Ace or the One of Cups. And so right now it's simply on its own saying some new emotional connections are coming your way and you better listen. This could be a friend, could be social, could be anything. It could be at work, which, anywhere. But it is going to be an emotional connection. Now, does that mean it's romantic? No, absolutely not. Friendships are emotional. Acquaintances can create emotion. So this is all about that emotional connection aspect. So stay with that. And let's talk about our second card, Judgment, for a minute. And then we'll go to the Knight of Cups and we'll draw all of these together. So let's talk Judgment. A lot of times when we think of judgment, we think of the negative connotations of judgment, of being judgmental. That is a little bit different than what we're talking about here. We are constantly judging things. We are constantly evaluating them and making decisions. That's judgment, right? I look at a wood floor and a tile floor, and I decide which one I like better. I'm judging it to pick which one is more appropriate. And that is a good thing to do with things, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do with people because we don't know what's behind that judgment. Or being judgmental, I should say, to separate this out. Now, the Judgment card itself, or the judgment that we are talking about, is more than that. This is meeting your fate. This is the judgment that is appropriate, and this is what is going to occur. So, let's talk a little bit about how that would feel. So, in this card, you're going to see judgment as in the battlefields. The Valkyrie that's in this image is judging the soldiers who have fought in this battle and deciding whether they go to, and I can't remember all the names, but whether they're going to Valhalla of Odin's army or they're going to where Freya, I don't know yet. I'm still working on learning that. Takes them, to still live out their life. They're both positive places. It's not like one is hell and one is heaven specifically, but that's the judgment that we're talking about here. We're talking about meeting the fate or meeting the next step or heeding that next foot forward. It really talks about in judgment, not laying down and accepting like what's going to happen. It's knowing that what's happening is supposed to happen and it is a result of things that have happened and it is a part of your story and your journey. So the judgment that we talk about in the Judgment card is not judging other people or things necessarily. It's about being aware of and understanding why this is the sentence that you're receiving based on a judgment. So it's a different energy. Judgment is a very active energy, but it's a much less emotional energy than we think. Like than we probably associate judgment with, I guess would be the better way to say it. So judgment in and of itself is talking about heeding the call, listening to what's going on, knowing that what's happening has to happen. Judgment is occurring, and processing through that whatever it is. I hate calling it a sentence. That just sounds terrible, but that is what it is. Whether good or bad, it's time to pay up and do what's right to balance the scales, really. Different than justice, though, I have to add. Justice is more about kind of getting what you deserve, but that's not pulled here, so we're not going to talk about justice. Judgment is that action. Let's talk real quickly about the Knight of Cups or Knight of Horns independently and of itself in this reading. So often we talk about court cards, and for me and quite a few readers, court cards generally represent people, or it could be you or aspects of people that are around you that need to be listened to or taken to. And the Knight is a really interesting court card. It's the second card of the courts. If you have like a standard deck, it's usually Page, Knight, Queen, King. I don't believe that one is above the other as far as how we read independently, but the Knight is advanced past the Page's entry or childlike knowledge and inquisition. The Knight has finished all of the bookwork, right? The Knight has finished all of the practice rounds, the practice archery, read about the theory of archery. The Knight has read the theories and understandings of what it is they're doing, and they have practiced it, and difference being, though, they may not have experienced it yet. So when you're talking about the Knight energy, we're talking whether it is you that's listening or somebody that's in your life. We're talking about somebody who is confident, who has put in the effort, who has put in the energy. They feel ready to go, sometimes a little too much, but they are ready. They're prepared. The Knight is prepared. Page, not always prepared. But that's where we are at this moment. So the Knight of Cups is talking about the preparation for this emotional journey. And interestingly, all of these cards, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, are action and emotion. And really, from what I'm getting right now, we're talking about heeding the call or stepping forward and listening to spirit and moving. But the Knight of Cups is saying that somebody, yourself or around you, is telling you, hi, emotion here. It's time to go. We need to step out. It's time to move on to the next thing. It's time to cut everything else that sucks and move forward. That's the Judgment card there. And the Knight's saying, get on your horse and go out. Start going out. And maybe it's a battle. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're just patrolling. But you need to step out and take that next step and heed the action that's being called to. So the Knight of Cups sometimes can represent somebody that's around you. I generally look at Page and Knights as being an internal thing, and then the Queen and King either being an external mentor or an energy that you have that you're not listening to, right? So in this case, the Knight of Cups to me is you. And you need to listen and get on your horse and step out, make sure that you're prepared, everything's ready, and and get going. So now we're going to talk about this spread, just these three cards, kind of as a unit, right? We talked about the Ace of Cups and the Ace being the one or the embodiment of all of the energy, and talking about that starting action and getting ready for some emotional connections. And we talked about Judgment. Now, Judgment is a very active card. It's not very emotional at all. So it's it's really listening to the Spirit's call to move forward, go now, step out, and work through what has to happen to get to where we want to go. And then the Knight of Cups is saying, get on your horse, go and actually freaking do it. Don't just talk about it. You're ready to go. Don't be afraid. Knight of Cups actually is one of those cards that can represent a little bit of fear of stepping outside of a comfort zone. It reminds me personally, the Knight of Cups, of when I was a brand new nursing student, and that very first time I had to go in to do a clinical and work with a patient, I was terrified, like absolutely terrified. I almost quit. And the Knight of Cups can be that way when energy, because of that emotional attachment. And then you take that step and you're like, oh, wow, I actually love doing this. But a couple of things we're going to notice. We're going to notice that these two cards, we have blue water going in. We have blue water on the, on the outside. And in the middle, we have orange, bright, white, fire. There's so much in this card that it's a little scary. But look at the pattern here. Calm blue in, working up all this energy. This is what's happening now. Calm blue at the end. So in a reading that has this kind of color and imagery, our current status is a little turmoily. We're like, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I go? How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Judgment is telling you to listen to what's going on around you. Pay attention to the Spirit. Pay attention to everything. And yes, judgments are going to have to be made, and we're going to have to live with those consequences. It's action. It's going. But it's also showing you at the end, we're coming out with Knight of Cups energy on this. We're coming out with this calmness of action where we're prepared and ready. So you can look at this as taking the raw emotional energy, working through all of the kinks and difficulties currently, and moving into the near future, which is, all right, let's go. We're ready. So pay attention to those colors when you're doing tarot, right? And pay attention to kind of the outlines. There are horns in all of these cards. That's also the connection between the three of them. We only have the one major arcana card. That's another thing to pay attention to. You want to look at how many of majors and minors you have, right? It's only 3 cards, not as meaningful when it's a small read or small pull. But judgment here is the main theme of what's going on, is truly supporting and underlying this internal thing that whoever needs to hear this message today, judgment is not negative. It is a requirement to move through certain things, but don't judge people. Judge things and behaviors and individual pieces of it, and know that you have to be judged too, and you need to judge yourself sometimes. Not, oh my God, I'm fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. I'm talking about decision judgment, right? We're making a good or judgment to decide to do something. I have 2 pathways to take. One is extremely scary, and I already see somebody coming down that looks like they want to kill me. I'm not going to go down that path because I judge that path as inappropriate. That is a safety mechanism, and it needs to occur. Excuse me. But pull that in, right? Pull all that in. So if I had to summarize these 3 cards all together, we're going to say, forgot to mention, wanted to say this. The other thing about the one major arcana, which is just our theme of judgment, our theme of listening to Spirit and following what Spirit has to say and actually knowing that this is part of our next step, is the flanking of 2 cups cards. So that means there's a lot of emotion involved in this. Going from the beginning of the cups, that raw emotion, all the way to the Knight of Cups, which is towards the end of that action and decision to go. So you want to pay attention not only to colors and layouts and way things are patterned, but you also want to pay attention to how many majors and minors you have and what suits you have. It's all very helpful when you're reading. So my message and my summary of all of this to you is listen to Spirit. We are going through a little bit of weekly turmoil this week. It's a little bit tougher than we had anticipated, a little crazy. The energies have been a little weird, but they have and are being judged and organized so we can move to that next step. And the Knight is saying, you know what, it is time. You're ready. Whatever it is you're working on, whatever new emotional connection you're feeling or person around you that you might be feeling that with, or thing, or even hobby, go do it. Stop just saying, oh, that might be... Go do it. The cards are clear. Knight of Cups wants you to take that action. So, with that, I'm actually going to pull from our Star Codes Astro Oracle for the first time. So this is going to be a little bit of a clarifying card. And we get... Interesting! The 11th house. So our clarification card today is the 11th house, which is community. So in astrology, the 11th house is about the community center, or the feeling of how things are in community. Interestingly, pretty much every read we've done this last, I would say 3-4 months, this year even, is community related, or about community, about tribe, about social connections. Now, in this case, we're talking, and we're going to now lens or look through the lens of community at all of the cards we just talked about. Our emotional energy, new emotional connections, judgment, making sure that we're following Spirit and listening to things around us and taking that action step, now is colored by community. So this talks about our community center. Like, where do we go to meet or to group up? Is it one place? Is it moving? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a specific location. We are talking about community in general. So how do we improve upon or take these emotional steps that our cards have just told us about? You need to be with your community. If you are an antisocial person, I use that term very lightly, or you have social anxiety, virtual community is unacceptable to me. Other people may feel differently, but virtual community is acceptable. Maybe you need to hop in the Discord and just listen to other people having a conversation, so that you have some connection if that's what you're missing. If you're not socially distant from some people and you feel comfortable doing it, turn on your video or go out. This would be the best bet to me. Go out physically. Go to a friend's house, maybe somebody you don't even know that well but has been in your circle and you want to know better as a friend. Maybe they're in your group. We have a couple of those. people that we don't know as well that we want to get to know better, and start going out and using community and making those new social and emotional connections. Because in the end, that's what's going to get you through this little turmoily, judgmenty section of life right now, so that you can be the knight taking the action out on your emotions. So the 11th house really brings it all back together to community. So, that's a message we've been doing for how long? And interesting, first time ever pulling this deck after some really good shuffling is the 11th house of community. So, yeah, let's do it. That is all for today. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. I truly enjoyed pulling these cards today. I am just finding this deck is truly becoming one of my favorites really fast, and I'll be using it a lot more in the future. So that'll be fun. And then the Star Codes Astro deck is a really, really cool deck by Heather Roan Robbins. I've never used it before today. But it is moving. It is very interesting. It's some really beautiful, neat imagery. I would highly recommend you checking that out too if you're interested. If you want to see more tarot and some of the other things that Rook and I and our tribe and friends are working on, please feel free to subscribe. We do appreciate comments more than anything. I love to hear what you think about the reading. If you have a difference of opinion or if you read some of the cards differently, I don't take it personally. I want to hear it. I love that stuff. I love learning how other people interpret things because, hey, I might change a little bit in how I do it, right? So please leave some comments, like, and subscribe if you want to. I know time-wise this isn't going to matter necessarily, but if you're watching, today is Saturday, April 30th, 2022. It's 6:30 almost now. But tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we are doing our Sunday Pagan Chat, which has been really fun. So hopefully you are able to join that. We've been having so much fun with that, and we probably will be talking, I think, about a couple of current events and some magical tools that we have. So anyway, thank you again from the Two Pondering Pagans. I'm Salon, and have a wonderful week. And remember that when it comes to tarot, the guides are here, fate is in front of us, but we certainly have the will to change it. Bye.